my name's Chris Allen, and this is the Chris Allen MMA Show. Today, I'm being joined by such a tough athlete in the USA. He's in the heavyweight division. He's fought in the biggest organizations in the world. And now he's moving on to another venture with Aries Fighting Championship. I can't wait for that to happen, man. And it's Juan, the Kraken Adams. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Yeah, really good. And so really appreciate giving up a little bit of time on your Sunday afternoon. But I guess we've all got lots of time at the moment, haven't we? We're all stuck
Oh
indoors.
yeah, yes, tons of time. I actually added 2 more workouts to my week now, so I'm at about 2 or 3 a day, and then weekends are really light. I only do one each day on the weekend, so it's pretty chill.
Nice, mate. Well, at least you're finding something to keep yourself busy as well, because I'm sure a lot of people are turning into heavyweights at the moment. Just
Oh yeah, I had put on like 30 pounds the first like 2 months of this, and I started working out again. I can't be that fat.
quality. So what? Obviously, we're all stuck in this sort of lockdown, and people are trying to keep busy. I've seen people putting their couches up on their sides and using them as kick bags and punch bags and stuff. So what sort of things have you been doing? Like I don't know what sort of restrictions you've got over there, but we can't go out. The gyms aren't open here or anything like that. But
Right.
what are you finding yourself able to do, or have you got a home gym downstairs?
Well, luckily for me, I live in the gym. I live at Jackson Wink in the fighter dorms. I've got a
Of course, yeah.
studio apartment. Yeah, I've got a studio apartment here, so my entire downstairs is a gym. But they did close the gym aspect down, so we could do little workouts here and there for guys that actually had fights coming up. So at that time, for the majority of it, up until this last month, I was only getting 2 or 3 workouts in a week. But now that the gym is allowed to be open again, I'm getting 2 or 3 workouts a day. Still, I'm able to go lift again. Well, I hadn't really been lifting since my fight in July, so it's been about a year since I've been hitting the weight. So I started doing that again this past week, and it was fun, but it's also very draining. I was sore for 3 or 4 days afterwards. So,
I know that feeling. It's like getting back into training sort of feeling again. It's just every muscle hurts. You can't even stand up after a leg day, things like that.
right, right. Yeah, it was only an upper body day for me, but I'm dreading the first leg day back. I'm not looking forward to that.
It'll be a Jackson special, that will. It's cardio day. Love strength and conditioning. So, are you allowed to, because you live in a dorm, I'm guessing, is that the fighters still staying in the dorms as well? Are you able to train with those people as they're technically living with you?
Yeah, yeah. We could do like a private workout here or there. I would go down there every now and then, get some grappling rounds in. You know, Guys have a little bit too much to drink. We go get some sparring in. It was it was a lot of fun. But yeah, now that it's all the way open again, it's much better, hands down. A lot of people actually left the dorm to go home right when COVID hit. So normally we've got anywhere from 20 to 30 fighters living here. During that time, I think we had 12.
Wow. Okay, but still though, that's 12 top high level athletes. You've got at your disposal. Where in the UK sort of thing, people are sitting at home like we can't make people. Don't get me wrong, people are doing it. But off the record.
Right, right.
But I mean, some people literally just have themselves for the last 3 months. And so you must feel quite blessed to be. Obviously we all want to live in a big mansion and with moats around our houses and big bloody gates. But it must be great at this time. You're in a gym and you've just got everything you need. What a great opportunity to actually get yourself into a better condition.
Right, and it's one of those things we really worked on a lot of the big holes in my game. We've changed my style kind of back to the way I used to fight that got me to the UFC. Once I was in the UFC, I kind of listened to critics a bit too much and tried to become more of a stand-up fighter, focusing on counter-striking and using that to set up my takedowns. But now I'm just a lot more aggressive. I feel a lot better back kind of in my original style.
Well, I'm not surprised you're happy on your feet, because look at what happened when you came into the Contender Series. I mean, people wouldn't have, obviously we saw you did great, obviously grappling in the obviously beginning of the fight, but I mean some of those hands, man, you looked like a stand-up sniper fighter. So did that add to
Yeah.
the confidence going into the next fight, obviously where you won your debut as well? Was that maybe why you
Yeah,
kept on the feet, because of that confidence from that Contender Series fight?
right. It was a lot of confidence from that. Also, I started to get a lot more confident in my power and my ability to throw volume. I didn't really get tired. I threw more more strikes in my first two UFC fights than a lot of welterweights do. So it was that gave me a lot of confidence, but it was really hard to switch between that and my wrestling, and especially since I wasn't wrestling a whole lot, I was getting a lot of kickboxing rounds in. I was working with pro boxing trainers and professional boxers. That's where all my sparring was. So that did give me a lot of confidence, but it also was detrimental in the long run.
Yeah, that's it. But again, it was, in my eyes, people might look at the records, whatever, but I don't want to sound too biased, but the Greg Hardy fight, in my eyes, was stopped quite quickly. I thought you were okay in that fight, but I can't understand why they stopped it. I do get it, but you had the leg,
Right.
you're ready for takedown. The fight before, I forgot the geezer's name now, your last fight, you were still going for the takedown. So, you know what, man, just in my eyes personally, I'd love to have seen you fight a couple more times there, but that's just from a fan perspective. But at the end of the day, you're going on to a fantastic organization now, Aries Fighting Championship, mate, and really focusing on the African fighters and European fighters, which I've been saying for years. Like, look at the African fighters we've got, like champions in the UFC and stuff like that now. So is that a reason why you want? Is that, well? First of all, I'll let you tell me. Like, what drew you to Aries FC?
Honestly, Aries FC was the first one that offered me, and on the biggest thing for me was two things. I would get to be more featured there. Obviously, I'm grateful for the push that the UFC did give me, um, but there wasn't really many opportunities to grow beyond that. They've got a few fighters that transitioned into the commentary and things outside of fighting, but I wasn't a star by any stretch of the imagination in that organization's eyes. So going over to Aries, which is a young organization, they said, well, we can use your social media presence and things like that to make you more of an ambassador. We could try and work something out to where you commentate a fight or two, and
Nice.
really just see where I go from there. That was part of it. The other part of it was, I don't like fighting bums. I like fighting
Yeah.
quality competition, and they have that at Aries. I felt going back to the regional circuit. Well, yeah, I could have easily gone back to the regional circuit and strung together 5-6 wins straight in a span
Yeah.
of probably 7 months. But with Aries, it's got that international appeal to it, and it allows me to take my brand overseas. It allows me to still fight really high level competition. And when you go to another organization, a lot of people view you as a stepping stone that they need to get into the UFC. So that's going to draw out the top prospects, or the top veterans that maybe have never gotten to fight in the UFC and want to get there, and they think they can make a name off of me. So it kind of ensures that I'm getting that top level competition. I'm still getting paid. I can still make this my my only job, and I don't really have to change too many things. So that all that factored in greatly to it. And ultimately, it's a really cool name. I love the logo design.
Yeah, I know.
Fernand Lopez is great. He's been awesome to work with. I started working a little bit with the media teams there. I've interacted a little bit with Robin Black. So it's a really good look for me, and it's a great time to go somewhere where they don't really have a whole lot of stars over here. So me fighting those guys that have that appeal in France, Europe, Belgium, all over Europe, and Europe and Africa, and then they're fighting me that I've got a decent U.S. following. I think that would make clash of two cultures, and it helps everyone in the process.
Definitely, man. And you have got a European presence as well. As I said, when we're talking to you right now from the UK, I know you've been speaking to a few other guys from the UK as well, and so everyone knows who you are because your fights are exciting to watch, and that's why we like to
Right.
watch them. You go from your great wrestling from your NCAA background, which unfortunately we lack a bit in the UK, but we're getting there. We're catching up with you,
Yeah, yeah,
but but ultimately, it must be great Like, it's great fighting the UFC, but you know what? You're getting a fight internationally now as well. Instead of on, like, I think you fought in Milwaukee, you fought in Houston, which was nice, obviously, the hometown for yourself. But is it also a decision you've made because you can now travel the world a bit more with this organization?
Yeah, that played a very large part in it. You know, I visited Iceland for a little bit. I did Iceland and Norway for,
Nice.
I was there for 8 days total. I think I did 3 in Iceland, 5 in Norway, and you know, it was a great experience for me. It really opened my eyes to, you know, different cultures, seeing different people, and interacting with you know, just outside of my box, outside of my normal box. You know, my favorite fight obviously was the one in Canada. You know, when I fought in Canada, it was amazing just to see a different type of person and to see different people, different cultures, experience different cuisines, things like that. Stuff that I would want to do outside of fighting. I get to merge into almost a business trip of sorts. And, you know, I really only need to be hyper focused for, you know, making weight and the day of the fight. But after that, if I can take 2 or 3 days in a different country, you know, seeing different things, experiencing different things, that's great. I'm only 28 years old, and to
Yeah,
be
man.
able to travel the world as part of my job description is what a lot of people my age would kill for.
Exactly, mate. Especially when someone's paying for you to be flown everywhere as well, which is always nice. You know? And it's
Yeah,
part of your job.
exactly.
It'd be like
Right.
as I said, it's the whole thing about working. You know, you're getting up for work, but you don't feel like you're going to work. And, you know, you feel like that's what life's all
Exactly.
about.
Right, right. So you know, this is really a dream profession for me, and now that, you know, I'm not so, you know, when you fight with the UFC, it's constant. Like, oh damn, am I gonna get cut? Even if you win, if you're not exciting, you're gonna get cut. So it's one of those things where, yeah, not having that in my mind all the time. The multi-fight contract was cool. Only downside is it is an exclusive contract, so I might have to wait a while between fights. Like right now, I'm not scheduled to fight till January, I believe, which kind of sucks, but it's also a lot of fun because I get to focus for 6 months and really turn in the type of performance that I want to perform. There's no stone unturned in my training, and anything that I want to exhibit, I can.
That's it. And you're coming into such a great time in your career as well, like your sort of age range as well, the 28 to 30, like 34 peak training, they say, you know. And mate, I just feel like you've got a lot more to see from yourself as well. And I really think this move is going to do wonders for you. And it'd be great to have you in the UK, mate, as well. It'd be lovely to meet you in person, of course. You're a bit taller than me, though. I'm 6'4". I think you've got an inch on me.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah. And the hair adds a couple to that, so you know, I'll look a little bigger.
yeah, I know mine's falling out. You don't need to remind me, man. It's all good. But it's the lockdown hairdos, isn't it, mate? Waiting for those
Oh
barbers to
yeah,
open up.
yeah.
So how
I
did
had to shave.
yeah,
I had to
no,
do my own shave job.
I feel like such a bum at the moment, man. You know, I haven't been to work for 3 months. I don't know what to do with myself. You know,
Oh
but, you
yeah.
know, yeah, man. But I'm not rubbing it in. But the UK government's looked after us. They're paying us our paychecks until it sorts itself out. So we're pretty lucky to get that. You know, and I know it's not as fortunate over there. I've got many friends over there. You know, and it's like, here's a $1,200 check. Thanks very much. You know,
Yeah.
it's tough. It must be tough for you guys over there. You know, and I'm glad you're still very positive about it all. You know, you've got your stepping stones all paved the way you want it. You've got your gym on your front doorstep. So obviously training at Jackson Wink, what's going to happen with training with them? Are you just going to still train there and just fly to all these different places all the time? Or would you base yourself somewhere for a little while?
Nah, I'm staying here. I'm here for good. You know, it was crazy during all the madness. Once restrictions lightened up a little bit, I drove down to Houston, cleaned out my 2 bedroom apartment, and moved everything into a studio out here in the gym. So it's been a bit of a lifestyle adjustment, but I couldn't be happier. And I'm here for the long haul. You know, I don't want to be one of those guys that changes training camps 3, 4, 5 times throughout my career. I've got a good group here. We've got 6 other heavyweights fighting for various other high level promotions. So it's great. It's a great fit for me, and I'm getting the best training I could ask for.
That's it. I said you've got some decent heavyweights down there for sure, and I'm sure even John Jones is walking around heavy every now and then as well. So that's someone else, a big lad to fight as well. But to be fair, whenever I see you fight, I'm not trying to say you're a big guy or anything, but you always like to take that extra pound, that 266, and I love that. You know what I mean, man? Is that because you're sitting around there anyway, or you having to cut a little bit to get down there?
Oh, I have to cut quite a bit. So right now I'm ranging between 301 and 305.
Okay.
Once I'm in camp, I like to be 6 to 8 weeks out. I get down to about 282, 283, and I try and maintain that the whole time. During fight week, I usually cut the last 16 or 17 pounds, and it's one of those things where I've made 265 twice before to fight. I don't. It's just it's an extra 15, 20 minutes in the sauna for me, and I just don't want to do it. So as soon as I'm usually for all my UFC fights, I was one of the first five people on the scale. I'm good. Once I hit 266, I'm done. And my trainer's always like that. Whoever I'm with is always like, why don't you just cut the extra pound to be safe? I'm like, nah, I'll strip naked on stage before I sit in the sauna any longer. I'm not doing it.
But why put your body through anymore? But again, you don't look like you've struggled or anything when you're fighting or when you're weighing in, like some fighters do. Some fighters look like skeletons, and it's actually
Right.
quite scary. But no, you're still looking healthy when you're on the scales there, and it shows in your fights. You've got the cardio we saw in your unanimous decision fight. But what I want to ask you is, so you only had 4 fights, didn't you? Well, let's start from your early career. You started off an amateur, so you've been fighting for 4 years now. Such a massive experience so far already, isn't it? You've
Right.
been fighting in this. Sorry to change it up there, but you've been fighting in this organization, well, this sport for 4 years, and you've got to look back and think, right, I've experienced a lot. I've got a good foundation there to build upon.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny when I started fighting, it was one of those things. I was helping other fighters at the gym with their wrestling. I had an NFL tryout at the time, and uh, my tryout was supposed to be in late December. And they ended up saying, "Hey, why don't you just wait another year?" And I said, "Yeah, screw that. I think I'll try this fighting thing." And a lot of the guys at the gym were like, "Well, why don't you take a fight, do whatever?" And at the time, I was about 320, 325 walking around every day. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I'll take an amateur fight, just make weight, see where it goes. That one went well. So we just kept accepting amateur fights. And then no amateurs wanted to fight me. So I went pro, and LFA gave me the 4-fight contract. So I was like, oh, sure. And, when I signed with my manager, he was thinking it would take anywhere from 18 to 36 months for me to sign with the UFC. And less than 12 months later, I'm on Contender Series getting a contract. So
That's mental, man. That's absolutely madness, and it just shows the belief. They saw it in you. They know what you can do, and they just saw exactly what you're made of. And how did that come around? How did the call from the Contender Series come around? Like, were you just sitting around and someone emailed you or something? How did it all come? How did it all happen?
no, so I was actually chilling at LFA was having trouble finding opponents for me, and so I went to an LFA event in Houston, and Mick Maynard was there, and I've always had a decent relationship with Mick, more so with his wife because his wife was running LFA at the time, and I was just always had her laughing at the weigh-ins and stuff, and they saw my fight, my third fight. Mick and his wife were front row for that fight, and so when he saw me at the Houston card, he said, "Hey, why don't you come on to Contender Series? Well, I'm going to talk to your manager about it. We're going to try and get you on Contender Series, see if we can find an opponent for you." I said, "Yeah, sure, man. I would love that." And then after he goes, "Oh, by the way, we're having a housewarming party tonight. Why don't you come on by?" So I went out
Why
to the
not?
housewarming party afterwards. But that was a lot of fun. Contender Series was to this day my favorite experience in MMA. It was my favorite fight by far.
Yeah, man. And look where we are now. We're back in the apex, exactly where it all started.
Yeah,
It's weird when I'm watching. I think, am I watching Content? No, it's not. It's a UFC card, but hey, perfect. What a perfect little venue for the apexes for UFC actually during this whole situation, man. But that fight you had on Dana White Contender Series, like when you tagged him multiple times. To be fair, I'm surprised he lasted that long. To be fair, that guy. And
yeah.
how did that feel? Once you got that win, you like, right, this is definitely what I need to be doing. Like, I've come into Dana White Tendencies, and this is basically it.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. I had quit my job 6 weeks before the Contender Series. I quit my job, and I was working as a loan coordinator at a bank, and it was just so
I wouldn't
I
mess
got
with you,
bored. I got bored so easily, and I got to the point where I was really good at what I did. So anytime they gave me something, it never took me more than an hour to get it done. So realistically, I was working working maybe 3 hours out of the day and just killing time the rest of it. And my passion has always been, youth outreach and things like that. So when I quit that job, I could focus more on the coaching jobs that I had, which was a lot of fun. And it was just coaching and training. So, that felt good on that aspect of it. And then when I'm doing the fight, we're doing the media, I'm doing my interviews, all that, everything just flowed so well. So I knew this is what I needed to be doing.
Yeah, so it's when you stand in front of those cameras, and because I've attended a few press events myself, and you see some fighters who are coming maybe off their debuts or something. You're like, shit, people actually want to talk to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just as rewarding for us as well because I said I've been talking to guys who are now pros, who are amateurs. They're actually going to Fight Island now. Some of these English guys, and you know what I mean. So it's good to see how the careers are progressing. And as I said, the same thing's definitely happening with you, man. So what I ask all the people when they come on, because it's a pretty cheesy question, but I always like to know where you get your nicknames from. So I'm sure you've said it a million times and told the story, but where did
Right.
the nickname come from, and was it given to you?
Yeah, it was given to me actually by my best friend. I call him my big brother. I drink Kraken rum a lot. I love rum, and in college, I didn't really like the beer that college students could afford, but Kraken was pretty affordable. So my roommate and I would go through a handle of that and a handle of Blackheart every week. Um, we were just
Oh,
we were just drinking a lot. So once I graduated, that's something I carried with me. I always drink Kraken and Cosmos. Those are my two drinks. So when I go out, so he's like, "Oh, this is perfect." And I was familiar with the mythology behind the Kraken, and it kind of fit because I'm a big guy, and when you roll with me, it's just arms and legs coming out of everywhere. So sometimes it feels like I've got 8 limbs, but no, it started with the rum.
quality, but it's just I remember I really wanted to know exactly what it was because there was one of your fights and the commentator, I think it was Dominic Cruz, before you're about to start off, and he goes, "I'm really trying not to say Unleash the Kraken. I can't say it."
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, it's great because some people just have the name Pitbull or something like that, and don't get me wrong, it's quite a common nickname, and I wouldn't mess with any of them, but at least it's something different. I've never heard of that one before, so
Right.
it's going to be something to do with Pirates of the Caribbean or alcohol. I knew it was one of the two.
Yep. Yep. Lots of
So then,
alcohol.
yeah, there's nothing else to do. That's it. So obviously you got that fight, and did you know before that fight in Kenton series, contract was waiting at the end of that, 100%.
I knew a lot of guys did get contracts. I was really most hopeful for me. I was thinking I would get a developmental contract with that win. Because I had only had 3 fights before. That was my fourth pro fight. I was not expecting to get a UFC contract off of that. And when I did, it really took my training to another level. And for a while, I kind of hated fighting. While I was in the UFC, I did not enjoy it. It was something that I was obligated to do. I was working out for 6 hours a day. Doing that on the weekends, I would work out for 2 hours a day each, and those were my breaks. And it got draining for me. I didn't enjoy, not being able to go to certain places anymore because every time I went there, someone wanted a picture, someone wanted to talk to me, and all people want to talk to me about is fighting. So fighting went from being something I enjoyed as a release and as an escape from day to day life to it becoming my life. And it took me a long time to kind of to cope with that and to come to terms with that and make it enjoyable again. So I'm just at a point now where I'm enjoying this stuff again. I like fighting. I like training. I wake up excited to do things again as opposed to having to drag myself to each workout.
That's it. And it said it's an old saying we say in the UK. It's very important to have a home work balance. You know, otherwise if you do too much of one, but it doesn't really work for you because your home is in the gym at your work. So I don't know how that metaphor is going to work very well for you. But do you think it is important that you do have that part of your life where you can just unwind and just get away from fighting altogether?
Yeah, it's highly important, man. Even it even carries over into my social life. You know, if I go somewhere and all they want to talk about is fighting, I usually there for about an hour and then I dip. If I'm dating someone and it becomes I meet their family or whatever, and that's all we ever talk about all the time. It gets old really quick. And obviously you're gonna have some questions. I'll answer two or three. Talk 30 minutes, and I usually set a timer on it. I'm like, you guys have an hour to get this out of your system. Otherwise, I'm not doing like I don't want to deal with this all the time. Like if I'm out eating dinner or if I'm out on a date and someone comes up like begging me for a picture and you know who's going to take the picture, then it's usually the person I'm out with. They don't like it. The people I'm with don't enjoy it. If I'm trying to have a conversation, I'm interrupted every 10-15 minutes to take a picture or talk to someone about fighting or answer their questions about it. It gets old, and and I get it. Without fans there is no sport, but there also has to be a balance. Other people need to take that into account, and I have to keep that into account.
You're not just a fighter, basically. You are actually a human being. It's like a guy who's a doctor. He's not only a doctor. He does go home and probably drink and smoke sometimes as well. He's meant to be healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, mate. Well, no, it's good to hear. Like, and again, that makes me even more grateful that you've allowed me to come and speak to you today. Not allowed me. You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
But mate, it's no, it's as you said. Everyone wants the fame and everything like that. But look at people like I don't know. Let's look at a huge name. Let's look at someone like Conor McGregor. You reckon he can just walk down to his local pub now and have a quiet drink in the corner on his own? Of course not.
No, definitely not.
Exactly, and that's the problem. But again, as you said, it's nice to be recognised. But after a while, you said you've got your life. You want to just enjoy yourself and forget about fighting. But I know you're a decent guy. You'll always stop and take pictures with people and things like that. But again, maybe it's just part of the job. What do you think, or is it just something you have to get used to?
Yeah, it is something you have to get used to, and it is just part of the job. Like I've said before, without fans, we have no sport. Without fans, I'd probably be fighting on Saturday and back at a desk job the next day, and I don't want to do that. So I'm very grateful for the fans, but there also needs to be a mutual level of respect there, and as long as you do things respectfully, typically it ends well.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I said I've attended media events at like Bellator, Cage Warriors in the UK, things like that, and sometimes you do like see like, wow, I've been watching you for years, but you know what? Just let him get on with his time. If he if he's free and go say hello quickly. But you don't have to jump all over them. And I know
Right.
exactly what you think. It's like, are you a fighter? It's like, no. The worst one I like to hear is, oh, do you do UFC? Do you get that in America as well? That's like, oh, go away, man.
Yeah, I get that. I get that quite a bit actually, and it's usually from typically I get that from like people hitting on me that don't really know who I am or like what I've done. It's like, oh, I heard you do this, or I looked you up and you do UFC. I go, not anymore, but yeah, that was a fun time of my life. Thanks, but I kind of just I downplay it a lot. I make a lot of jokes, and I just kind of get on with my life that way.
Yeah, you're a humble guy, mate, and I know you like to keep it to yourself, which was obviously very different to see you in the whole. Won't go into it too much because it annoys me because I can't stand the guy. Is the Greg Hardy
Mhm.
situation? Do you know what I mean? And I know that really got on your nerves, and I just wish that ref didn't
Yeah,
stop that fight. I saw a takedown coming there straight away. But anyway,
yeah,
but yeah, that was a bit out of character. I thought. I know you weren't being an arsehole, but I
yeah.
mean, it's different to see you in that sort of like taking it more personally, opposed to like how you usually come across quite humble.
Yeah, and that was a really big learning experience for me. I can't. Some guys need to make things personal, and it brings out the best in their performance. For me, it doesn't. It just I make a lot more mistakes. I don't think think properly and all that. But my approach to it now is, it's a job, it's business. I want to have more fun doing this as opposed to getting worked up and amped up all the time. So, yeah, there's a time and place for that. When you get hit, you got to take it there sometimes. But hopefully that don't happen too much more.
Well, you're always very professional, I'll always give you that, it was very professional and sportsmanship and everything like that. And well, that really goes hand in hand. You've been an athlete pretty much your whole life, if I remember rightly, after reading what I have done. And, that just teaches you discipline throughout your life. I remember I think you started off with college football, didn't you? Collegiate football. And then I think then you went to wrestling after, didn't you go to the end? That's when you started your wrestling, wasn't it? After the NFL tryouts. Or am I wrong there?
No, no, no.
No, that's
So,
MMA, wasn't it?
no. Yeah, no. I started. I mean, I've been playing sports since I could walk. 3 years old, I was in advanced soccer. I've always had to compete up in age groups. So that experience alone really taught me how to kind of check my emotions more so and be more professional when I do things. And when I got to high school, I narrowed it down to three sports. It was football, wrestling, and track. And uh, I got injured the first game of my senior year, so that kind of took all my D1 football offers away. I was gonna have to walk on, and it was gonna be the same thing with wrestling because I didn't start wrestling until I was in high school. So I knew I wanted to be a Division 1 athlete in the NCAA, and my choices were I could walk on and play football somewhere and hope to get a scholarship, or I could walk on wrestling somewhere and hope to get a scholarship. And I really just did not enjoy football. I still don't. Even when I was doing the NFL tryout, I loved working out, but as soon as it got to doing football stuff like learning plays,
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. So I
Yeah.
wrestled. Yeah, I wrestled collegiately. I walked on to the football team in spring of my freshman year, and I was gonna be third string on a losing team, and I'm like, well, if the wrestling team loses, I can still win my individual match, and it'll be like still me winning. So
Exactly.
I chose to stick with wrestling, and ultimately it was one of the better decisions I made in my youth.
How did you feel though, going from like a team sport where things with like soccer and NFL is that you could have the game of your life, but your team could still get absolutely smashed, like whatever the scoreline is, yeah. But when you do wrestling, as you just said there, do you find it's all down to you at the end of the day? Yeah, you're part of a team, I get that, but there's no one else in that ring, for example, on those mats with you, is there? It's
Right.
whatever you
And
put in, you get back out of it.
right, and you can only hold yourself accountable in wrestling. So that's what drew me to that. And again, yeah, the team scores and dual matches and things like that were important. But when it came to seeding and your own personal standing, all they cared about was your personal record. So that's what really drew me to that sport.
That's it. And did you like the whole fact you went from saying playing part of a team then to, as you said, really knowing what you put in, like you get out of it altogether. So was that something you instantly got drawn to straight away then?
Yeah, yeah, it was huge for me.
Yeah, man, it's nice that sometimes I've known a lot of fighters I speak to say the same thing. They say they've done team sports and they're fed up with being the golden boy, but the team keeps losing. And
Right, right. It gets old. It gets old very quickly.
it's never fun. It's like, well, can someone sign me to another team or something like that? But so what made you, obviously these sports were contact sports. So NFL was, I won't go into it now, but it has been proved sometimes a bit more head trauma than MMA, for example. But what drew you to combat sports? Because obviously wrestling was very grappling based. NFL was
Right.
obviously. So what actually thought? Let's put this together with some jiu-jitsu and punching.
It was always just fun for me. It always looked fun. I watched it a couple times, and you know, I like to fight, man. I got into a lot of fights in high school. Then in college, that was kind of my go-to. I'm like, oh, well, fight me. Like I was
Well, you're the
always ready
biggest
to
guy.
fight.
They've got to pick on the biggest guy, man. Do you know? That's it.
Right, right. So I've always had that. I've always been kind of drawn towards combat sports, and uh, I figured well, why not get technical with it? You know, I watched a lot of martial arts movies growing up, and it was always cool. And I'm like, yeah, I want to learn how to do some of that stuff. And
That's it.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I remember breaking bones thinking me and my friend can punch through wooden planks like Bruce Lee, but soon learnt the hard way, you know. But
Yeah.
it's all fun, mate. It's all fun. Well, I'll tell you what, Wayne, I won't keep you too much longer because I know it's your Sunday and this is probably only, I'm sure you're going to train later on today. Am I right? Are you off to the training after
Yeah,
this?
yeah. I've got to work out later today.
No worries, man. Well, I'll let you get on with your day. And just, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for chatting. You know, I really appreciate it. And especially from halfway around the world, you know, and been watching your career for a while, as I said, since the Contender Series and stuff. And in my eyes, you're 28 years old. You've been in the profession for 4 years now. And look at the experiences, the foundations you've got. And, mate, it's going to be incredible to see where you go. And I can't wait to see you in Europe, in the UK.
For sure, man. I can't wait to be there. Thank you.
And just before I let you go, do you want to just if you want to give a shout out to anyone who helped you get to where you are today? If you can remember everyone, we always forget one. Uh, any sponsors and where people can follow your social media stuff?
Yeah. Well, I'm currently not sponsored. I actually have one sponsor. It's the Adultionary board game. There's a couple links to it on my page. Go check those out. Chosen Juan 285 on Instagram and Twitter. On Facebook, it's Juan the Kraken Adams. And another shout out to all the sponsors from the beginning of my career up until now that have gotten me where I'm at. Jet Hot was a huge role in that. FlemingAttorneys.com. They played a very big part in all of this. Now currently, you know, Peoples, they were instrumental in getting me to move out here. So just all those people, all those groups, I greatly appreciate. And obviously, my big brother Dallas, he's the one that got me into MMA to begin with. So, and of course, Jackson Wink, all my team members out here, especially, you know, my inner circle. We've got T.O., we've got John, Marisa Chavez, Joel Bauman, all those guys are, you know, I couldn't do this without you. Oh, even Davion Franklin as well. So.
That's it, man. You said you've got such a great setup where you are. You're in your studio place. You've got your gym next door. You've got these killers around you to train with, including yourself, and so much to look forward to as soon as this lockdown ends. And mate, it's going to be great. And I'd be great to chat to you again in the future, and hopefully in person when we see you in Europe.
For sure, man. Thank you.
No worries, Brian. Have a great day, mate. And again, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
You too, man, and no problem. Have a good one.
Cheers, man.